My name is Rebecca Auer and I'm a surgical oncologist in Ottawa. As the co-chair of the Rectal Disease Oncology Group, I'm partly responsible for some of the strategic direction of the rectal clinical trials that are going to be selected, overseeing the various study chairs to make sure that the trials are successfully enrolling and barriers to enrollment are being addressed in Canada. I'm very excited about the trials that we're currently running through the Rectal Disease Oncology Group. Some of the trials are looking at how can we minimize treatment while still having excellent outcomes for rectal cancer surgery patients. So right now the standard of care for patients with rectal cancer would be a combination of radiation, chemotherapy and surgery, and that can be a year-long journey for patients. And so we have a couple of trials now looking at trying to minimize that. One is called the CRC.7 trial, or the Prospect trial. And that trial is being run across Canada as well as other sites in the US, looking at whether we can use chemotherapy alone as opposed to chemotherapy and radiation before surgery in patients with rectal cancer. And this could potentially be a practice-changing trial. And if we could avoid one of the modalities, like radiation, in those patients, we can improve their quality of life and with similar outcomes, and so that's very exciting. Another trial that's a similar strategy is called the CO.28 trial, and this one's led by the Canadian group, looking at if we can do a smaller surgery, something called a transanal excision or a transanal endoscopic microsurgery, to remove the rectal cancer in combination with chemotherapy as opposed to what we would traditionally do, which is a very large rectal resection. And again, the idea is to minimize treatment and improve quality of life for patients while still getting excellent cancer results. And lastly, the new trial that we have open is in anal cancer patients, looking at using immunotherapy in those patients to improve their outcomes for the high-risk group. And I think this is an exciting strategy, a new therapy that could potentially benefit patients with higher-risk anal cancer. Well, clinical trials are the backbone of what we use to be able to explain to patients what therapies they should get, what are the side effects of those therapies, and what are the outcomes of those therapies. So in order to establish what we would consider the standard of care, we need to do clinical trials. And then moving forward, clinical trials are also allowing us to explore novel treatments and new therapies, which from a biological point of view, are really exploding in the oncology space. And so understanding where the therapies fit the best, whether they're effective and whether their toxicities are manageable, those are the things that clinical trials can help us to understand.